Welcome back to the Purpose Over Profit podcast. I'm Jim Floyd with Spence Dave Performance.
And I'm Jeremy Powers, founder of Powers Insurance Experts.
So, Jeremy, today we have the pleasure of having Spence and Dave in the studio. So, can y'all introduce yourself? Tell us what all you do.
Yeah, my name is Dave Clayton. I'm the co-owner of Spence Dave's Junk Removal. For me, my title really, I am the person that goes to businesses and to residential neighborhoods, and I sell the company.
Wait, very eloquent. I'm Spencer Kemp, co-owner of Spence and Dave's Junk Removal. I handle a lot more of the business stuff behind the scenes. So if you see an ad, that was me. All of our, marketing, finance, a lot of the management stuff on site, that is all me. The only client-facing role I really have is when I'm doing jobs physically in person. Everything else is behind the scenes. Good. And on podcasts.
There you go. And on podcast. Boom. There we go. Hey, you have been on 3 and you've only been on 2. So, this is it. But this is the one that matters.
Is the role.
That's my official title. That's it. I always tell everyone I'm the face of our organization now, but that's all I get to do. But I don't even have a pretty face, so I don't even know where I fit in. So I'm still looking. Maybe I'll come work with you guys. You never know. So ultimately, just what a great time to have you guys on. Obviously I've had a chance to get to know your business a little more over the past few months, and man, it's been incredible to watch you guys grow, to see, and I just knew that it would be something wonderful to bring you onto the show, to let our audience not only be inspired by what you're creating, but to also just show off like, hey man, these are people in the community who are making a difference, who had a mission, and they've not only done it, but they've done it as a team. When a lot of people would say, you shouldn't go into business with a friend. Well, sometimes it can work.
Sometimes it can. So I think one of the things I'm really interested in here and is just kind of where the idea came from. And so y'all are about 2 years in now, and getting close to 2 years. And so I'm really curious of the origin story and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we first started kind of almost like as a side hustle during the COVID season.
Mm-hmm.
There was I needed to make some money for school, and over the summer we went back home, and we started doing some junk removal jobs and realized, wow, we're making some money doing this. And we didn't really think in that moment that we could create a business out of this. It was just more of like, this is something we can make money doing, and put it towards school, put it towards other things too. And then when we graduated USC, we really were looking for ideas to start a business. And the first thing that we thought of was actually pallet flipping. Terrible idea. In Columbia,
I'll take ownership on that one. Yeah.
Really bad. It failed miserably. So for 3 months, we were not doing that well. And then we saw a need for how commercial clients were needing to remove items. And we were like, you know what, let's do it. Let's start just removing items. It takes a lot longer to get into the commercial business when it comes to like junk removal. So we needed to find those quick clients at first, and that's when we went into residential too. And whenever we started doing that, we started kind of seeing that success. After that, we hit kind of like an S curve. And an S curve in business is where you get a lot of business at first because you're marketing, you're advertising, doing all these different things. But I can't go to door and also do the jobs. So whenever we start hitting that S curve, we had to find a way to fix that. And the best way to do that is to pay for Google Ads, for me to just go towards selling the company, while Spencer was more managing the on-site jobs. And that's where we started making the bucks. It was great.
Yeah. So was it a natural flow with your just with your leadership styles, and where, like, as to where you said, okay, I'll do X, and you said, okay, I'll do Y? Or was it, did you guys sit down and just say, hey, we like it all, but let's just divvy it out?
Yeah. So I guess this plays in the origin a little bit, but a bit of background. So David and I have been, well, we're not best friends. I hate to break it to you. We are brothers.
Oh,
We're
okay.
not biological brothers, but it's like,
going with
I think
this?
we've really advanced. I think we've advanced past the best friend thing, where it's really, I don't know if I'd work with all my best friends, but I would definitely work with my brother. And we're kind of at that point where we can talk, we can air out anything and it's like there's no.
Yeah.
I feel like my feelings might get hurt, but it's not going to impact our relationship
Yeah,
at
sure.
all.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a lot of open conversation about this is what you would be better suited for. This is what I would be better suited for. But a lot of it was also pretty natural and organic because we led life group together or small group together in college.
Mhm.
We were part of the same church, still are. And we saw how our gifts kind of meshed well together. Like David is an evangelist and a salesman. Yeah, that's his business and his, Christian kind of thing. Like David could talk to anybody. He's really good at forming connections, meeting new people. And so there was a very clear, okay, step right into sales. It just
Mhm.
made sense. For me, within our small group, instead of going out and reaching new people, I preferred to disciple the guys that we already had. And so that made it easier for me to manage the company more. And so I think we found a lot of just natural skill that has been very complementary. And so I think individually we're good, but we're better together. So to kind of add on to your point, I don't know if this is on air or not, but I do think partnerships work.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a bit of a brain trust that forms when you add more people. And there are more voices in the room, but you're also compounding ideas, and iron sharpens irons. Proverbs 27:17, we believe that. We write that on our backs.
Yeah.
Well,
and the thing is, though, is all you ever hear are the horror stories. But I think it's nice to bring, and not to say that in 3 years, something, all of a sudden one of you could become addicted to painkillers, and then all of a sudden the whole thing goes. I'm just saying, like, as long as you are willing to have those open conversations and you're willing to be there, I think that we need to bring to light the fact that they can work just as much as we want to talk about they don't.
Yeah.
It's also a beautiful thing when they do.
Yeah. And I think the big thing to highlight, especially for y'all's story, is that your skills and your approaches are complementary to each other and not in competition with each other. And I think that's really the ultimate kind of secret sauce thing for things that are going to work when you have multiple people in charge.
Yeah. And it's also not undervaluing. Like, you can say, well, I'm handling and doing all this back and stuff. Well, if he wasn't out there selling it, then it wasn't, and so what I would say, and this is, I think you would agree, if you guys haven't heard of a book called Traction, it's by a guy named Gino Wickman, and I would strongly suggest that as you're a smaller business, my problem is I don't have the visionary and the implementer. That's what they're called. You're more of a visionary. You're more of an implementer. I'm a visionary. You're more of an implementer, but yet we own two separate businesses. That's why we can have a podcast that works really well together. But at the same time, you've got a business that's here and still in the starting phases. Man, if you guys were to grab hold of that book and you were to actually go ahead and build that out, because it would excite you, not that it wouldn't you, but you're going to be like, sounds cool, but like, I've got to go sell another job. And you're like, no, wait a second. Like, we can build this out. We can do this. I'm telling you, the world better watch out. Not that they already shouldn't, because you guys are doing great things. But what a beautiful thing when you have those two pieces, because like Jim said, if you're both salespeople, you're battling each other, you're kind of competitive, all of a sudden it can create that animosity. It can create, even though you don't want it to, it can create that. But also in this world, it can too. But whenever you feel like what I do is more important than what they're doing, I just think as long as you can remain humble, man, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Yep. I really applaud y'all for being in those positions, and really, I think it helps y'all have a shared history, lots of knowledge of who each other are, and you say you're brothers, and that makes a huge difference too. But also of y'all having the wherewithal to have those conversations from the start to really defining your roles. That makes a huge difference with that. And I think with what y'all are saying about just that S curve of things, and you get real busy up front, but then it's like, all right, well, now I don't have the time to do things that got us busy in the first place and stuff. And so really recognizing that early too, because I would imagine most people who go through that entrepreneurial journey don't have that recognition at first. And they're going to the opposite. I was like, man, I'm just going 100% all the time towards burnout because I'm not doing the right things. So I think that's great that y'all are starting out with that awareness and really doing the right things.
And I'll speak on a mistake that, I'm always happy to share my mistakes. I make like 8 a day, so it's like, let's talk about it, but for me, we started this business. 2020 was a beautiful year in the insurance world. It might've been a weird year. right before I opened my agency, COVID happened. Luckily, I'm more of a digital kind of forward thinking person. So I was able to really hit the ground when a lot of agencies were thinking, man, what are we going to do? We're used to meeting people in person, blah, 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 blah. I was able to really, gain a lot of traction, grow very quickly. And over the years, we've been able to do that. But as we've grown a team, my networking and all the things that I've done have really been able to, and I don't want to say like I'm being arrogant, but like, like at first I created it for me and I paid my bills through it. And then now I give everything to my team. I really don't quote or write business anymore. I'm giving it to them. Well, it's always been enough to be sufficient for us to all pay our bills. And so I never had to teach my team how to hunt. I would just hand it to them. And now that we're going through one of the hardest markets that I've ever seen in 14 years, to where we've gone from 12 companies to writing business to 3, and we've gone from being able to help out 9 out of 10 clients to helping out 3 out of 10. Well, all of a sudden, even though Jeremy's bringing in the same amount of leads or community people that want quotes, we can't help as many. And so now all of a sudden my team, the burden that I feel now is, oh my gosh, I can't create enough. Why wasn't I teaching them to hunt better even in the good season? You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I would say if I'm giving advice to other folks. If you're in a good season right now, you had sure better find out, what do you need to do to make sure that when things do get hard, because it's going to happen, we all go through seasons, what do you need to do to be prepared for that? Because I will raise my hand and tell you that it is a lot more stressful when you have to do that on the back end.
Yeah, there's this saying that I really, really like. It's better to over communicate, because if you don't, negativity follows it. By over communicating, it basically is telling someone, even if it sometimes might sound stupid, you don't know what someone else knows. You want to be able to tell them something in order for them to learn as much as they can, so that whenever you can't tell them something, they're able to figure it out.
And so it goes back to clarity. And so clarity in what is expected of someone and what their role is and all those kind of things too. And so if you don't tell them, they don't know too. And so I think especially for y'all at where you are in your journey with that too, so one of our roles as those leaders of the companies and the owners and the executives in that is not only dealing with the right now, it's that forward thinking. And what Jeremy was just talking about was like, what do we need to ensure that we're still successful 5 years from now? And that's what y'all's roles are within the business, because you got other people to work with you now. What do we need to continue to foster their development and all that kind of stuff? That's what creates those next steps with the two.
You have 2 mouths to feed. You have 2 partners. And so there's a struggle with that when you're building a business from the ground up. But like we're saying, it's like you have the opportunity where you have those 2 minds, where you have those 2 different personalities. And I truly believe that you can multiply so much faster. I believe that it's one of the reasons that you've seen the success that you have, and why you may be able to not have as many blind sides, as long as you trust each other. Because you got to think, you're back to back, but that means you can see 2 directions, but you have to be able to trust that person's not going to put a knife in your back, and so, there's a lot to it, but I think it's a beautiful thing. Now, a lot of people are scared to take that leap of faith. We have not only one person that took a leap of faith, we have 2. So walk us through that. How did you go from being in college? A lot of people go from college to a 9 to 5. Okay, so how do you get out of college? I'm assuming with possibly student loans, this, that, and the other. Maybe you're blessed and don't have student loans, but how do you go from not only I want to know, how do you decide together, we're both willing to do this? How did you talk your parents who maybe helped you a little bit through college that you were going to do this? Talk us through that, because I'm sure it's going to appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah. So basically, we started this business September 22. We graduated May 22. And so basically, I was working in a marketing role at a marketing startup locally in Columbia, and it was a great place to work, but I knew that I wanted to start a business. And David was in the same boat. He wasn't at the marketing company. He was working in third-party security locally. But it was still the same thing of okay, this is good. We're meeting our needs. We're paying down our bills. And actually now we're both debt-free, which is cool. But,
that's amazing.
It's trying to prepare ourselves to be able to take the leap, basically, get a little bit of savings. And so we did that. I know I prayed about it from May to June, and didn't feel right yet. And so I waited, and then I prayed again. And so mid-July, I quit my job. And so I took a month before David quit his job, or for like 3 weeks before David quit his job, just like preparing things, laying some of the foundation, and then we hit the ground running. And so there was a lot of fear there, but we also like, we've got a little bit of padding, and then the padding went away really fast. As David said, we fell flat on our face. But that's where God really came in for us. Like, I know there was moments where like, oh my gosh, I know I had the arrogance to be like, we're hitting 6 figures before Christmas, and we started in September, which is stupid. But I remember thinking like, we're the opposite of 6 figures right now. Like, I might not make rent this month, and I know every time there's something like that, it was like in the final hour, our need was met.
When you let go
really
and let
cool.
God, I mean, that's whenever. I mean, at the end of the day, He's trying to teach you humility.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
he
that,
did.
like you
Oh
said,
my gosh.
yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
you know?
that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened. Exactly what happened. Like we were so prideful thinking that it was just going to be an overnight success. And that bad idea that we had of pallet flipping for 3 months, not making anything, it was like, that was a big, fall in the face. We just really, we had to do something else.
Yeah.
And I think something also, it wasn't like something that kind of pushed us over to like wanting to do what we did, was more that we knew that we wanted, like the why behind what we were doing. We knew we wanted to do something for Columbia, make Columbia a better place. And there was not going to be anything that stopped us into doing that. I think that was the real reason why we keep doing what we're doing, even if there has been like a bad month. We know that the reason why we're doing it is really important, and we're not going to stop.
It's the purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really profound thing that you just said, is that the why, if you have a really deeper purpose and you truly believe in that and you're passionate about that, that's what drives you through the times when it's great and the times that where it's really, really challenging, because it's absolutely not all sunshine and rainbows all the time too.
Well, did you have supportive parents?
Not financial support, really. Kind of. I mean, initially it was like, yeah, that's a great job, good idea. And then it kind of turned into, what are you guys doing? You guys have college degrees and you're hauling junk. I mean, because that's what it is not. It's not pretty, and it is. I think our parents maybe for a little bit were like, this is wasted potential, but we don't see it as that. I mean, David talked about the impact. Like we know that having our own business and businesses frees us to have the kind of impact for the kingdom and locally that we want.
Yep.
So
that's my biggest thing, is there's a parent out there who's going to go through this in a few years, or maybe going through it today. Someone listening, that they have a child who's wanting to take that leap of faith. And my thing is that, even when I think about if Olivia, my oldest, were to come to me and 7 years, 8 years from now, she says, "Hey Dad, a year into college, but you know what? I've got this idea. I want to do this jewelry, the jewelry company we're talking about before we aired that your fiance has." And I would almost be like, "Whoa," but here I am, no college degree. But I think for our children, we're like, man, like, we want the best for you. And so that's my biggest thing, is if you have unsupportive parents, or that maybe were like, they sat you down and said, you better not do this. I mean, maybe you wouldn't be here where you are today. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get at, is like, do you feel like they aided in your, like, because they, not talking about financially, but were they like, hey, we believe in you, and that allowed you to do it? Or were they like, hey, you had to kind of, sneak around and make it happen because they were like, you better not do this?
No, I won't speak for your. I think both of our parents actually were both like very much. They believed in us. They believed in what we were doing. There's just a sense of maybe the business we chose. I think that was probably a better way to say it. Like they're like, you guys are capable. Junk removal, and we saw a great opportunity. I mean, there's a low skill barrier in junk removal. You don't need a license. You don't need a degree. And so one of the things that we're really passionate about is creating opportunity.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to do that because we're not looking. The pool that we're choosing from is huge.
Yeah.
And it's a good way for us to offer really good compensation for what they're doing. We can create mentorship opportunities and equip them while they're doing that. And we say this, like, we want them to grow up in our company or grow out. And do something that is elevated. We love the people that work for us, but we want them to grow. So
That's great. I love grow up or grow out. That's, I mean, that's,
yeah,
they're growing.
Yeah. I think to echo with the parents thing. So my experience was that is I think, and so me as a parent and then talking with my parents whenever I took the leap too was, I think it's the parents' number one thing is they're always going to worry for their kids and want to make sure that they're going to be okay with it. And that's what I experienced with mine was they were excited, but they were also like, well, how are you going to make money and how are you going to pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. And, but ultimately I love hearing y'all say that y'all felt that they believed in what y'all are doing. And honestly, I would venture to guess that now your parents are really proud of what y'all have created and what you're doing and the way you steward your company and impact so many lives with that too.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I go back to a story. My grandmother, she's unfortunately a little over a year from her passing, but she was, I mean, just incredible to me. Like, but I remember she would, when I said I was going out on my own, she was like, you know, in a loving way. She's like, are you sure? Like, you know, are you sure you want to do this? Like, you know, like you got a good job, you know, you've been there, this, that, and the other. She's like, I believe in you, but are you sure? And she would always, and then she would always feel like the first 6 months, she was always like, is everything okay? Can I help you out a little bit? This, that, and the other. But then it's like, once you know, when we won like our 3rd year of like best agency, you know, she was like, I always knew you'd make it. You know,
Thanks, Grandma.
And you know, it's just so funny. It's like, awesome. You know, it's just those moments like, the people that love you the most are most often the people that keep you from chasing your potential because it's so much safer to stay put, you know? And so and it's not that they don't love you and it's not that they don't want the best for you. They just don't want you to get hurt, you know? And I think that we have to open our eyes to that when our children want to take risk, when our friends, when our family, when people want to take risk, let's not be what necessarily holds them back. Let's be accountable. Let's make sure that, you know, they're not trying to do something insane, you know, but at the same time, like, believe in them because sometimes that's the missing ingredient to someone's success is just someone having the belief in them. Now, moving on to our next topic, I want to talk about you guys, 2 partners, obviously have come together in a business. Looking back, is there anything that someone that maybe is looking to get into this, they maybe got a potential partnership mindset. Is there anything that you would have changed or things you would have done differently coming into a partnership now that you're a year or a little more than a year into it?
Yeah. I would definitely have changed the preparation. I think we went right into it. We wanted to make, you know, big bucks. We wanted to make some money. And I think going into it, as fast as we did not really prepare the way that we should have. There's some, there's some things that we should have just known. All the recycling centers, we have all of that, but I think not going to them also hurt because it was like a brand new adventure going straight to there with all the junk and then realizing, shoot, we can't take everything to just metal recycling. They don't take it all. Gotcha. We have to go to the landfill. Which landfill works? You know, what hours? There's certain hours that they're not open. It's just, and I think it does take a leader to like learn from the mistakes. But there's a lot of mistakes that could have been, you know, not have had. We didn't really have to have. So I think moving for the person that is looking into starting a business, they should definitely prepare while they're in another business, you know.
There you go.
Prepare.
That's right. While don't quit your job and then spend 3 months preparing. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'll tell you. My accountant, when I went through a class that taught us how to manage our books, he said the reason that you're successful while 80% of your industry fails in the first 3 years is because you don't think about this stuff. You just go to work and sell policies. And he said, doesn't matter, as long as you can pay the bills, you'll have some problems in the back end when it comes to taxes, this, that, and the other. Like, you're going to have to figure this stuff out, but most people never get to. They fail before they make it that far. And so I love what you said, like, use where you're at as college. Now, be respectful. Because I think you're now in a position of ownership where if someone's taking advantage of you on the clock, man, it really pisses you off. Excuse my language, but it may. So be respectful of that job or where you're working at now. Be respectful, but you're gonna have to grind on the nights and the weekends. You know, like don't take advantage of somebody else and be doing all the research on the clock. But I love what you're saying. What would you add to that, Mr. Planner?
I think so. there's no way you're going to anticipate everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to, so like your example of the recycling centers and the different landfills being open, different things like that. You're always going to have the blind spots when you're going through those things. And so that's where sometimes it's going to be helpful to have a partner where y'all are thinking about different things, or having a mentor from the start of, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about, like, how are you going to, can the landfill take everything, or you're having to move it to a different thing? And because we get so caught up in just being excited, planning all those kind of things, and invariably there's going to be things that you hadn't even thought of that happen, and you're going to continue to have that every year you're in business. There's always going to be stuff that you don't anticipate. So I think it's maybe from a planning perspective, trying to think about all the different scenarios, but it's more so of making sure that you're in the right mindset to be able to handle those challenges as they come. So maybe planning a thought process for those things of, this is how we're going to handle whatever comes, versus having to try to pick out and anticipate every single thing that's going to happen.
Yeah. I also think it's a great opportunity for you to always write down and keep those things where you fail. Number one, I'll say, man, I love every time you guys talk about failure, you don't give up. Like, every story has resilience, and we push forward, and I think that's something that you should pat each other on the back for, like, even on your hardest of days. There we go. Because I mean, multiple times you had this thing, you could have easily walked away and said, we have these degrees, let's just go work for somebody else. But you keep, and no failure is truly a failure if you learn something from it. You're smarter for it. You touch a hot oven top, you don't do that again. You know what I mean? But you had to touch it to feel the pain. And so, like Jim said, sometimes you got to feel the pain, and you did. But I think it's vital that you write those down, because 2 years from now, you're not going to remember some of these things. And what if you have the opportunity to get into coaching? Like, both of us coach people in our same industry now. And if we didn't write down or somehow remember, we don't remember what it's like to be new. I mean, you just don't. Like, some of the things that my people talk about, I'm like, how do you not just automatically, oh, wait, I've done this for 14 years. You know what I mean? And so I'll just say, keep that stuff, because one day you never know. It's fun to look back on how someone, I always ask when a new person comes to the insurance industry, number one, where would you buy insurance from right now? How would you do it? And they're going to say, okay, well, this is what I would do. Okay. What are the top 2 companies in your mind? And then number 3, what do you think about it? Like, what do you think insurance really is? And it's so funny that even in 30 days, their mindset's completely changed. And so someone coming into your industry, you think differently than the day you started, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's so important to keep track of that. So many folks in your industry go from, I'm out of school and I'm going to make a difference, to, like, how can we churn and burn? They didn't get there overnight, And so I think it's vital that we reminisce and we remember those things, but we always look to continue getting better.
Yeah. So I think so kind of continuing off of that, and maybe switching gears a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the why, and that deep why for y'all. What's your vision for what y'all want to do to create more impact?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for our impact to be amplified, our business has to be amplified. So we have to grow. I had a really good encouragement from somebody, and I wish I could remember who said it, but I think sometimes, I've already said this, but we're both Christians. It's easy for us to be like, oh man, like, it almost, growing my business sometimes can almost feel like selfish, or like too ambitious, or sometimes where it's like, ah, man. But the reality is, we want to bring in as much money as we possibly can and steward it as best as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because we make a lot doesn't mean that we are just going to hoard it all. And so there's the heart posture there, not necessarily the amount. I can be greedy with nothing.
Sure.
And so I think the vision that we see with that is, we want to create opportunity. We want to continue to expand our operations. We want to grow to 7 figures locally, and then start looking at other places to open up operations in. We want to create, within this specific business, we want to create like different avenues for people to be employed. So we want to open a thrift store. We want to do a lot of junk removal, where people are, it's like young guys coming in and doing that stuff. We want to have someone that's involved in marketing, and like working with kids that want to gain experience with social media and all these different kind of things. So I think the people aspect of our social impact is pretty big, because we're both people. and we both love to disciple, love to meet new people. I think I see that growing a lot.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is beautifying the areas we're in. Again, with this specific business, love Columbia so much. I think sometimes Columbia doesn't get the respect it deserves.
Amen.
Second most transient city in America, I think. People see this as a stepping stone, and I don't know why. Like we grew up by the beach, which everybody's like, oh, it's paradise. But I said the other day, I was like, Polly's Island is kind of boring sometimes, and he's like, I can't believe we just said that, But the reality is Columbia is awesome. I love it here, and any city, any place we open up operations in, we want to make that place better.
Yeah.
So I think that's how the social impact grows as we grow.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason our office is here. I could easily work from home, but our office is here because we love Columbia. That's, we're a part of a board, it's COLA, and it's a whole board because all of the people from Moore School of Business, we are like a mini insurance hub, maybe an insurance tech hub. That's why it's COLA, because it's insurance technology, Columbia. But the thing is that everyone gets plucked away from here, and it's not talked about. It's not on the map as it should be. And it blows my mind. And so that's why we have this podcast. That's why we will bring a mastermind to life in Columbia, where where we will bring collective ideas, thoughts, leaders, and continue to grow on that mindset of it can happen right here. And man, that excites me to know there's other business owners that feel the same way. Because we need more of that. Everyone is looking to get out whenever this is a beautiful place to stay.
100%. Cox.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Well, I think that it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, what you guys have done, what you've created, your why. It's the whole reason we have you on, for the purpose over profits. I want to ask this though. We usually ask a lot of folks when they come on, and we didn't ask you or tell you about this beforehand, but I'm hopefully whether it's a sermon, whether it's a because I know you're both very involved in your church, a book, a podcast, a documentary. Is there something in you, is there something that's maybe sparked, whether it's a month ago, yesterday, or 7 years ago, that you would share with the audience, like, hey, this is something you need to take in. This is something that really gets me excited. What do you guys have anything like that? We'll start with you and move forward.
Yeah. Well, I know this is something that I've realized owning a business is that the devil hates it. The devil does not like Christian-owned businesses, so he's going to make it hard for you. A lot of that does not mean that he's going to win.
Sure.
God is, overall, he's sovereign, and I think that a lot of it is just me having to rely on the Lord every single day, lean on Him. Because if I don't, then it's very easy to look at all of the negative things that happen and just focus on that. So it's really just leaning on God whenever, especially in times where it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I would say ditto to that. But I'll plug 2 resources. The first one is a book. It's called, now I'm forgetting what it's called. So I'll go to the sermon and go back to the
Is
book.
the book
No.
Okay. Well, the
It's
book
actually Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there we go.
No, seriously. The sermon, it's not a business related sermon at all. It's just it's John Piper's sermon. It's called Don't Waste Your Life.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that don't waste your life like, oh, go chase after money. It's not like that. I'm saying don't waste your life like there's an eternity after this one that I 100% believe in.
Yeah.
And like today is no joke. We have a real impact and a real purpose God's calling us to accomplish. And that purpose is not chiefly, get money. And when we do get money, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Let's do as best we can with it. But our chief end is to advance the gospel to all nations. And whatever way we can help accomplish that is important. So I think being in business, hopefully being successful, generosity is huge. We want to have that kind of impact. We want to give money in that way. So I'd say that sermon is a big one. The book, which I've now remembered, is called The Making of a Leader.
Mm.
Our mentor plugged it to us. And by the way, mentor is huge. I know that you didn't say that, but like he's not even a business mentor. He has mentored us in our business, but like, I mean, he showed us how to be men of God. Just God really answered prayer there. But The Making of a Leader I think it's really hard to be a good businessman and not be a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people are naturally good leaders, some people are not, but you can become a good leader. I think God equips everybody and gives everybody specific skills, and that can elevate to a leadership, type position.
Well, it's great, like you said, a mentor. Like, to be a great leader, you also have to be willing to be led.
Yeah.
So many people feel like I love Wednesday's a busy day for me. 6 a.m. I have a Bible study from 6 to 7. Then I go to B&I from 7:30 to 9. And then a lot of times we record our podcast on Wednesdays. And so Wednesdays is a very tough day, but that morning segment, I love it because I'm not a leader there. And it's a beautiful moment to just be able to be like, because so much is expected so often of people that are in positions. Like the moment you walk into your business, you're expected to be a leader. You're expected to take all the hard conversations. You're expected to take all the this, that, and the other. And it's tough sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree?
Oh yeah. Definitely. And so I love hearing y'all say that, and that you've had a great mentor, and that makes such a crucial thing to have early on too. So just really enjoy getting to hear y'all's perspective on those things, and just I'm really impressed by what y'all have done and the approach that you've had with all that too.
Yeah. And I think there's like two different categories of mentors too. It's nice if there could be one for both, but it's also good to have two different categories of mentors. One being someone who is mentoring you in business, and someone who also is mentoring you spiritually. Tom Blaylock, someone that we've been, he's been our mentor since we were kids. Great spiritual mentor for us. Very thankful. And then there's this other guy, Jordan Lowen, who has taught us a lot with business because he started a business himself, and he's ahead of us in that, and he's making a good amount doing it. With that, he said one piece of advice that has stuck with me even now, whenever I experience maybe a couple of days where it's like, gosh, we're not making as much money as we should be. The phrase that he has said is, if you're surviving, you're thriving. If you're a business, that means you're growing. You're doing good. Just keep staying in business because other people are failing.
Yeah,
you got to keep going. And I think that has made me realize that I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
I just got to keep going day to day, because there's going to be a day where it's not good, but there's also going to be weeks where it's great.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been awesome having you on here. I think that's a great place to end it.
Yeah.
If you're, give it to me again. If you're surviving, you're thriving.
You're thriving.
All right. If you're surviving, which you have to be listening to this, you're thriving. And so, guys, we're excited to be able to do this for you. We're excited to bring on great guests, and we hope that you get out there and get after it. We'll always live that purpose over profits mindset.
Yeah. And so also we want to give y'all an opportunity to shout yourself out and let people know if they would like your services or want to learn more, to how they can contact you.
Yeah, great. So we're Spence Dave's Junk Removal. We are the residential and commercial junk removal solution for you. So you can contact us at SpenceandDavesJunkRemoval.com online, or you can also call me at 843-503-4026.
Beautiful.
Very good. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on. I think it was a great conversation. Really excited to see what y'all accomplish over the next multiple years.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.